Hi everybody, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to Overkill Reviews. Before we get into it, let's talk about some shows. On Monday night, Uriah Heep, the prog icons, they came to Toronto and they played an absolutely kick-ass set that was mostly 70 to 73 material. Myself and Martin Popoff attended the show and we had a blast, so I highly recommend that if you're able to see the band while they're on tour, that you definitely check it out. Other than that, Spectral Voice is touring. Also should get tickets. And finally, in Toronto, Angel Witch has just announced an exclusive one-off show, so that is going to be killer. Make sure that you subscribe so that you can get all sorts of news updates about all your favorite bands. Today, I'm reviewing a seriously kick-ass Spanish death metal band. Yep, that's right. I've confirmed your darkest, deepest fears. Pretty much all the Overkill reviewers at Banger really fucking like Death Doom. Today, we're reviewing the second studio album by ATARAXY. It's called Where All Hope Fades, and it's out today on Dark Descent Records. All right, before we dive in, let's learn about the band. ATARAXY formed in 2008 and are based in Zaragoza, Spain. After releasing a demo NEP, they put out their celebrated full-length called Revelations of the Ethereal. Now, a little segue into Dark Descent. Can I talk about some records real quick? So first up, Dark Descent. They were the first label that picked up Horrendous, who are the highly acclaimed death metal band from the States. They're the ones who did Spectral Voice's Eroded Corridors of Unbeing. This one, again, we've talked about a lot. House of Atreus. Awesome band, awesome album. Blood Incantation, Starspawn, very technical death metal, very good. And finally, Begrime Eximus, which is a Edmonton death metal band, and they are super kick-ass. Thanks to the fact that Dark Descent Records picked them up and the buzz around their debut was quite high, the buzz for this record has also been quite high. Does it live up to the hype? Let's talk about it. I'll just come right out and say it. Where All Hope Fades is an immensely satisfying listen. Dense, atmospheric, and crushing, and it's got this very arcane, rumbling feel that puts it in line with the Finnish death doom lineage. There's a great primer on this scene on Reddit. The link is in the video description, but for my own recommendations, I highly suggest that you check out Ripakulu, Depravity, Sentenced, and bands of that ilk. As for the vocals, ATARAXY's vocalist really is reminiscent of Martin Van Drunen of Asphyx and early Pestilence fame. Check out this guy's howling gasp. It's so dry. Vocalist and guitarist Javi definitely has that rotting corpse gasp down, and his voice is a really strong accompaniment to the overall rather cinematic feel of the record. Now, when I say that, I mean that the instrumentation is very dense, it's very relentless, and you're getting Javi's voice, but you're also getting his guitar leads. And his guitar leads are rather high, clear notes, and that builds up a very palatable sense of dread in the album when you're hearing that very dense sound compared to something that's very cold and striking. Here's an example of it in track 3. And this record is infinitely listenable from the start to the finish. Some of the tracks, they go for 10 minutes and it never feels tiresome to my ears. Where All Hope Fades is not particularly innovative or groundbreaking. It's definitely following in a lineage of Finnish death doom. You digging it may come down to a few things. If you're okay with bands who love a style and they emulate it very well, then you're probably gonna think it's kick-ass. If you like death doom, this might be one of your new favorite bands. But if you're not into that kind of stuff, then I would probably skip it. I've got to hand it to Dark Descent Records. They have their ear to the pulse of what's going on in death metal, ATARAXY is a kick-ass addition to their roster. Where All Hope Fades is a very solid, atmospheric, dark album. It delivers excellent death metal with the glacial pacing of doom. After 2 weeks of having the digital files, I've listened to this record start to finish 18 times. It's got tons of replay value, and that means it's an album that's going to stay in my music collection and get replayed for a long time. Some of you might be complaining, they're not doing anything new here. And you know what? You're right, but I don't find that to be a detriment at all. I think this record is kick-ass. I'm definitely adding this one to my vinyl collection, so it gets 4 out of 5 skulls here on Overkill Reviews. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, perhaps about the magical unicorn bag, and head over to BangerTV.com to leave your own skull rating. Before you head out, there's a lot of really good records that have come out lately that I want to give a shout out to. First up, doom metal duo Coffin Torture has their debut full-length Dismal Planet. After that, Brazilian power metal band Angra, who actually is pronounced Angra, have a new album called Omni. Both of those are out this week. The one that I'm really stoked for is Calgary grindcore band Wake. They're putting out their newest album, Misery Rites, via Translation Lost Records on February 23rd. If you did grindcore by way of Discordance Access, then you should check it out. The new album by traditional metalers Visigoth is out now. That one's called Conquerors Oath. If you want to read a feature that I did for Noisy on the new wave of traditional heavy metal that is sweeping across the United States, then check out the link in the video description. Finally, Swedish doom metal band Anguish put out their 3rd album on January 26th. That one is called Magna Est Vis Signua, and it's out via High Roller Records. I highly recommend it. That's it for me. I'm gonna go home and listen to some death metal.